Thanks, Miss. Thanks for that. Girls, today and yesterday are really important. Just having a chat to some of the girls yesterday after they'd finished the first day, they were saying that they really liked just having a bit of time to kind of chill and to relax without the ongoing pressures that you get from school and so on. And we kind of deliberately set up these retreat days, these retreat times to give you that little bit of space. It's not just for students, it's also for teachers as well. We need, just like you guys, to have some chill time. You need to have time to kind of relax, to think, because sometimes when you're in the busyness of doing year 11, of doing year 12, of doing your HSC, you kind of get caught up in all the stuff that's happening, and you just need space. You need a bit of space. So these yesterday and today are really aimed at helping you that, but it's more than that, because it also helps you develop some tools and some strategies to help you prepare for the stuff that's going to happen after you finish school, and that's what today's about. Before we begin, can I just check, has everyone got a booklet? Yes, you need to let me know. Has everyone got a booklet? Has everyone got a pencil or something to write with? Tops, okay. You'll find that year 11 and year 12 will go by super quickly. I'm talking like really quickly. In fact, looking around the room at quite a few of you, I still remember when you came in for like year 7. And in some cases, I remember when you came in for like orientation day in year 6, and you've kind of blinked and you're in year 11. And what will happen is that you'll kind of blink, and soon after you're going to be starting year 12. And when I say soon, I'm talking like you've got this term, you've got next term, and then term 4, you start your HSC. For the current students that are in year 12, they're in a position right now where they have this term, and by the time term 3 comes for them, this is the outline for them in term 3, they have like 2 or 3 weeks at the start, and then they hit their trial exams. And then straight after their trial exams, if you do drama, if you do music, if you do art, if you do textiles, anything that's got a major work, you'll have your actual HSC practical assessments like in those couple of weeks. So we worked this out with the year 12s, and it turns out for them, they've got 2 terms, they've got the rest of the year with their exams, but realistically, when you break it down and you take away holidays and you take away interruptions, they've got like 15 weeks of school left, and then they're out. And the reason I say that is not to scare you to go, holy cow, we haven't got a lot of time. It's to make you really appreciate that the time that you've got is short, and what can you do right now to really maximise that time. Because I can tell you, the thing that really gets students uplifted at the end of this journey is when they can look back and they go, wow, look at everything I've done my best. It's not about the marks, it's not about whatever results you get, it's about looking back and going, I've done my best. And the students that end up feeling disappointed at the end of the journey for school are the ones that look back and go, you know what, I know I didn't do my best. It's like that, cut and dry. We have students that score great results and they're still saying, I just didn't do my best, I didn't push myself enough. And you have students that get what might be interpreted as low results, and they're on top of the world because they know they gave it their all. And that is what is really important in this whole process. So today is all about getting you organised, but not just organised. I'm talking like super organised and super productive, so that the short amount of time that you've got left at school can be maximised to help you get the best out of yourself. Who wants to get the best out of themselves? Just give me a show of hands so I can see who wants. Great. Can I just check so I'll make sure I'm in the right room? Does anybody not want to get the best out of themselves? No one's putting their hand up. Good. Okay. Someone's putting their hand up out the back. There's always one. So what I find is when I do these presentations to senior students, they go, I want to do my best. But they hit some walls. They hit some obstacles that stop them from doing their best. And one of those obstacles, which comes up time and time again, is your organisation. So in the last bunch of weeks, I think before the term ended, I asked Mrs. Remack and I asked Mr. Bridges to send out a survey that I put together for senior students, just aimed at you guys, to find out what's really going on. Because like we kind of have our hunches, as they refer to them, which means that we've got some ideas about what you guys are going through, but we kind of wanted to confirm that. So we surveyed you guys, and this is kind of what we found. We found that almost everyone agrees that organisation is important. Like really important to, I'm not saying important just because it is important. I'm saying it's important for you to get your best out of your time at school. So almost everyone is saying yes, it's that important. Almost everyone, 85%, are saying, you know what, I'm organised, but I reckon I've still got room for improvement, which is a really good sign. Whenever you're going through any learnings and you're identifying the things that you can do even better, it's not about doing it perfect, it's about just improving, because you're always aiming to improve. Well, the survey is telling us that 85% of you guys agree that there are stuffs. Stuffs, is that a word? There's things, stuffs? Stuffs, I don't know. There are things that you can do to improve your organisation. Really interesting though, only about a third of you are looking further down the road to see what's happening. So yesterday, driving home on the M4 motorway, and as I'm driving, you'll find this as you get your license, and a bit later on you're going to get the police officer talking to you about driving and all that kind of stuff. One of the things they teach you to do is to kind of look ahead. The reason is that when you're looking ahead and you're driving and you're doing like 110 kilometers per hour, you kind of need to anticipate the stuff that's further down the road that isn't in front of you. The problem comes when you're so busy driving and you're just looking at, say, the car in front of you, and the car in front of you might be doing whatever, and down the road, like 100 metres or so, everyone else might be coming to an emergency stop. In fact, that's what happened. I noticed that 200 or 300 metres down the road, all of a sudden like a brake light went on, and then another one, then another one. And so I was looking ahead far enough that I just started to slow down, just as a bit of a reaction. Started just hold back, hold back, hold back. Next thing, all the other cars in front that weren't looking that far ahead slammed their brakes on, all that kind of stuff. And I was pretty cool about it because I'd anticipated it. But if I was only looking at the car directly in front of me, they hadn't braked, I would have just run up the back of them. So just like when you're driving and as you're coming to that part of your journey, learning to drive, you're going to find that to achieve your best, you need to be looking further down the road so that the crash doesn't come. And that's what happens to students, is that they don't look far enough ahead, and all of a sudden they get the hit, and it's like, holy cow, how do I end up with so much work? I had no idea I had all this stuff to do. But what's really happened is that you're not looking far enough ahead. And according to the survey, only about a third of you are feel like you're looking far enough ahead that you're on top of your work. Now this is interesting because half of you are saying that you're not on top of your work. So if you're not on top of your work, that means that the work is on top of you. So you're getting home and there's like that much stuff to do, and you're going, I don't know how the hell to bloody do this. Is that a fair comment, girls? Can I just have a show of hands? How many people are getting home and just going, too much stuff? Yeah, quite a few. Quite a few. So today I'm going to give you a whole stack of understandings, and you're going to walk out going, wow, I know what I need to do now, which is really going to be very helpful. More than half of you stay up at night worrying about the stuff that you need to do. There's nothing wrong about worrying. It's like a perfectly natural human behaviour. Where it's a problem is where it's consistent. So if you know that you're going to go to bed tonight and at some point you're going to be up looking at the ceiling, waiting for the alarm to go off, worrying about the stuff that you need to do, it's not a very useful or productive use of your time, because you're not resting because you're worrying. You can't do anything about it because it's like 3 a.m, and you wake up feeling tense and more worried than when you went to sleep. And one of the reasons that happens, you're going to learn about this in a few moments, is that you kind of need to tell your brain what to be thinking, because if not, it's just going to worry about everything, and that's where you wake up worrying about stuff. Like I'll give you a practical example. A couple of weeks ago, I woke up, bang, like this, 3 a.m, staring at the sky going, I need to get milk. Because my wife had said to me, hey, don't forget to get milk. And of course, being male, I forgot to get the milk. And of course, being my wife, she said, hey, you forgot the bloody milk, what the deal? So it's 3 a.m, and I've just woken up and going, I've got to get the milk. And I'll start worrying about not having milk for breakfast in the morning. And I'm looking at all the permutations. Oh man, that means I'm going to have to like drive out. I'm going to have to pick up the milk. I'm going to have to get the girls ready. It's going to be a rush. Worrying about it. About milk. Like, who cares? But I was worrying about it. And what had happened really was that I hadn't told myself what I was going to do about the milk. I was in a position where I'm in bed. It's cold. I'm not going to get out and go at 3 in the morning to some service station to get milk. But I was worrying about it. So completely unuseful use of my time at that point. So the reason I bring all of this up is because it kind of highlights a few things. One of them is that this organisation stuff is important because being organised allows you to be really productive, which means that you can do the stuff you need to do. And when you do the stuff that you need to do, it then means that you can get the best out of yourself and get whatever results you want out of schooling, but not just out of schooling, girls. This is about what's going to happen way after you finish schooling. So it's important for the reason I just mentioned. Everything I'm going to tell you today is all about getting your personal best, whatever that is. Whatever that is. The second reason it's really important is because when you get your stuff together, when you know what's happening, when you're able to look further down the road and you can see the crashes coming and you can anticipate it, it means that you can focus on what actually needs to happen. So this is what I did to my daughter. I think it was Monday afternoon. She gets home and I said to her, this is for Ella, she's my 9-year-old. She's in year 4. Okay, Ella, this is what I need you to do. Are you listening? She goes, yeah, I'm listening. All right. You need to empty your lunchbox. Make sure you put the stuff in the dishwasher. You need to go and get your home reader so we can do a bit of reading later on. Your room's a mess. Can you clean up the bloody room because I'm stepping all over Lego and everything like that? I've got one of these Ever After High dolls on my bench. I don't want Ever After High dolls. Go and pick that up and put it away. Can you and your sister need to go and have a bath. So you need to go and have a bath. Your shoes are all scuffed. Can you leave them on my desk so that I can polish them for you because they're looking ugly? I gave her like 15 things to do and my 9-year-old kid's looking at me and going, so what the hell do you want me to do? And I just said all those things that I told you. And she's going, I forgot them already. I don't know what you told me to do. And what I had just done, without realising it at the time, I just bombarded her with so many things that her brain just went, enough, I can't handle it. And what had happened, I didn't tell her what to focus on. I gave her all the things. They're all important. They all need to get done. But I didn't actually tell her specifically, this is what you need to focus on right now. So she went into overwhelm mode and just kind of didn't know what to do. And after I picked it up, I said to her, okay, this is what I need you to focus on. Just get your lunchbox, empty it out, put it in the dishwasher. Do you know what you got to do? She goes, yeah, just get the lunchbox, put it in the dishwasher. When you've done that, come and see me. And straight away, her shoulders just went, like this. And she just went to her bag, grabbed the lunch off, and off she went and started doing her stuff. So the reason I say that, in a few moments, you're going to find out that our brain just has not got the capacity that we think it has. It's got heaps of capacity, but it's not in the way that we think it has. So when we bombard our brain with information, it goes into like crisis mode and it doesn't know what to do about it. So you have to make the decision on your brain's behalf to tell it what to do. Like, get your lunchbox now, and they go, oh, I can do that. So focus increases dramatically when you're organised. When you're organised, a byproduct of that is that you can chill. You can relax. So I had not organised when I was going to pick up the milk, so I'm laying awake in the middle of the night worrying about the bloody milk. Had I organised myself and said, I'm going to pick up the milk on the way home from work earlier that afternoon, and I made a note of it and I knew that I was going to do it, it would not have been an issue. So if I'm not being relaxed about it, the byproduct of that is that it increases stress. You start to stress out about all the stuff that you need to do, and it kind of brings you back to that story of having so much work that you're looking up at the sky going, I don't know what to do anymore. So being organised helps reduce your stress dramatically. And I think you'd all agree as you sit there that being less stressed is going to help you get the best out of yourself. You can't really do your best when you're tense and wound up. In fact, in order to have space for creative thinking, in order to have space for really critical thinking, which is what the stuff that you're doing here at high school level, you need to create the space in your brain to allow it to be relaxed so that you can actually do those things. Do we have, I just need to check in with you girls, do we have any questions or any comments or anything like that? Does it make sense? Can you see the importance of this? Yeah? So, put your hand up if you've experienced stress before. Can I just, quick show of hands? Okay, no, you're, okay, yep, yes, you have, good, hands down, just checking. You know, if I walk into the staff room and say the same thing to the teachers and say, hey, put your hand up if you're experiencing stress, they all kind of go, oh yeah, bloody hell, I've experienced stress. Everyone's experienced stress. Stress comes from, and it's important to understand this with regards to organisation, and you'll see why. Stress comes from having a perceived danger. And it comes from when we were like cavemen and cavewomen. And on any given day, like there's a few things that we have to do. And one of them is we have to go out and we have to leave our protective cave and go out and hunt for food so that we can eat to continue to survive. The problem with leaving the cave is that you've got big dinosaurs like this big T-Rex, Chompy, I've called him Chompy. You got Chompy roaming around and he's doing the same thing, but he needs to eat you. So, as a caveman, you'd walk out to go getting your food and you need something to let you know that there's a danger. Because if you are completely chilled and completely relaxed and this T-Rex comes at you, you're going to get chomped and you're dead. Game over. So we need something in our system to kind of fire us up. And that stress response, what it does, it kind of floods your system with a bunch of chemicals like adrenaline and a few others. And it basically makes you very alert and it puts you in a position where you've got one of three basic responses that will happen. The first response is what they call the fight response, which is dinosaur comes at you, stress happens, you go, right, I need to fight back. I'm going to take you on, T-Rex. I reckon I'm going to punch you in the whatever it is, that big tooth, and knock you out, and then I'm going to get away. That's the fight response. Some people like the fight. The second response is the flight response, which is the one that I would do personally, which is you just run the hell away. You get out of trouble because you're trying to survive. The third response, which happens as well, is what they call the freeze response, and that's where you just stare at it, and your brain's going, oh, I think this is dangerous. I don't know whether I should run away. I don't know if I should fight. Let me just consider this for a moment. Meanwhile, Chompy's running at you. Not good. I took the family went out to the zoo and they had the ducks, not the like caged in ducks, these are just like random ducks walking around. And they had like the whole family of ducks. It had mother duck and all the little baby ducks. And we had sat down to eat our lunch and the little ducks are kind of floating around, walking, like pecking at the ground, eating little bits of food. Little Ariana, who's now 4, but at the time she would have been like 2, sees the ducks and goes, oh wow, look at the cute duckies. Oh, they're cute, aren't they? Next thing out of nowhere, she's jumped up to grab one of these ducks, right? Before doing that, the ducks are completely relaxed, completely chilled, because they're kind of used to being around humans, and they're going, yeah, there's no real danger here, we're just going to walk around, you know, just keep an eye on things, but there's nothing to worry about, let's just keep going on with our lives. Except that my daughter, out of nowhere, came in and went to grab one. She just wanted to have a cuddle of it. Not the big one, she didn't go for the big duck, she went for the tiniest one of the lot. And in that moment, for the ducks, my daughter becomes the T-Rex, you know, becomes Chompy for them, because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's a perceived danger. And if the duck does nothing, my daughter grabs it, and there's every chance she could harm it, because she, you know, she's a little girl, she'd just grab the thing, grab by the neck and squeeze it, and who knows what would happen to the duck. And meanwhile, she's going, oh, look at the pretty duck, but the duck's kind of choking. So the stress comes into the duck, and they basically, like ducks aren't fighters, they're not going to stand up and have a fight, and they're not just going to freeze because they know that there's a danger, so they just ran away. They literally ran away, they all turned to their mother, they saw that their mother just got the hell out of there, and they just followed the mum. Meanwhile, I've grabbed my daughter, what the hell are you doing? I just want to pat the little ducky. Well, you're scaring the ducky. But it's so cute, I know it's cute, but you're going to scare the poor thing, it's about to die. So she sort of learned a lesson about not chasing wild animals. But what was really interesting is not that that happened, is what happened after that. And what happened after that is literally 30 seconds later, the ducks, mother duck and the baby ducks, have kind of assessed the situation and they've worked out that there's no danger anymore. It's like, I've grabbed my daughter, she's over here sitting with me, there's no one in immediate danger. You know what? We're just going to keep eating little bits of food off the ground and we're all hunky-dory again. So their stress worked as stress is kind of designed to work for us, which is, hey, there's a danger, let's deal with it. But once the danger's gone, there's no need to hold on to the stress. And that's what happened to the ducks. But we're human. And we kind of deal with stress differently. Because what we tend to do, or what we train ourselves to do more correctly, is that when the stress happens, we hold on to it. And then the danger goes, and we still hold on to it. And then the danger happened like last week, and we're still holding on to it. Which means that we can't get the best out of ourselves because we're too hung up about it. So this stress mechanism that we've got is designed to come in to get you to deal with stuff. So you get an assessment task, it causes stress because your brain doesn't differentiate between whether it's a dinosaur or an assessment task. It just goes, this is a danger. Like some people look at the task and go, this is like definitely a danger. It's a danger to my time or to my well-being or whatever. So it kicks off the stress, but then nothing happens to remove the stress or nothing happens to deal with it. And the opposite happens where down the road someone says, hey, in 3 weeks' time, we're going to give you a task. We're not going to tell you about it now. So you start stressing about stuff that's going to happen over there. And what we call that is anxiety. Anxiety is the perception of some sort of danger or some sort of response that you need to be ready for, even though it's not actually there, but you're preparing yourself for it. So people get caught being anxious about stuff that's potentially might happen. And in a lot of cases, it does not happen, but it doesn't matter because we're still responding to it the same way. Who's done stress before? Just a quick show of hands. Yeah, good. A lot of people. Who's done anxiety before? Quick show of hands. I've done it heaps. So this is the last thing that happens. You have too much to do and you haven't got enough time to do it, so you go into what's called overwhelm. It's literally what I did to my daughter before, where I told her you have to do all of these things, and she's just looking at me going, huh? Overwhelm. Because I haven't focused it in enough. And it's important to understand this because if you kind of get that this is the way that our bodies are being set up, it means that you're in a position now to kind of identify those signals and not just respond to it. The stress will come. Like, I'm not saying that I'm going to tell you something today that's going to make all your stress go away. That's unrealistic. Stuff's going to happen. But the way you respond to it's different. And what I want you to aim at doing is respond more like the ducks do, which is like something stressful's coming. Okay, I'll deal with it. I'll move on. And just keep going. Because that's going to help you get the best out of yourself. So, when we get overwhelmed and we have too much stuff to do, our stress levels go up and we're unable to handle it. So what we do is that we start multitasking. We think, right, I'm going to do as many things as I can fit into this hour because then I feel like I'm actually getting stuff done. When I was showing Miss Remac this, she said, oh, is that a cartoon of me? As in her. She looked at herself, looked at that and looked at herself and thought, that's what I feel like a lot of the time. Because you're just doing too many things. And we kind of put ourselves in a position where we feel that the more stuff we can fit in, the better we are. But there's a couple of problems with it. The first one is that our brain is not designed to multitask. But we kind of force it to multitask. But it's not designed to multitask. It's like if you've got a fork, which is designed for like stabbing stuff, but you're trying to drink your soup out of it, and you keep doing it, and you get like little drops of soup. So that's how you drink your soup. You're using something in a way that's not really designed to be used that way. And our brains are not really designed to multitask. Let me give you an example. In a moment, when I ask you to do this, I want you to count from 1 to 6, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, as fast as you can. Ready? All right, go. All right. Could you do that? Could you do that easily?
Yeah.
Okay, this time, I'm going to give you another single task. I'm going to get you to say the first 6 letters of the alphabet from A to F as quickly as you can. Ready, set, go. I'm going to give you the first up to F, and people keep going up at the alphabet. All right. You can do the numbers really easily. You can do the letters really easily. Let's multitask it. What I want you to do this time is I want you to say the first number, then the first letter, then the second number, then the second letter as fast as you can. Ready, set, go. People have got smoke coming out of their head at the moment. Okay. Here's what's happened. I gave you one focus, you guys smashed it out of the park. I gave you a second focus, you guys smashed it out of the park. I got you to multitask those two things, and you were able to do it. It's not like you can't do it. Yes, you can do it, but all of you were miles slower at doing it. And they've proven this with research. They've worked out statistically that you are at least 30% less productive if you multitask stuff. What that means is, let's say you've got 2 homework tasks that you need to do, and each of them takes you 20 minutes. If you do task 1, it will take you 20 minutes, and if you do task 2 after that, it will take you 20 minutes, and then you're done. When you multitask them, what ends up happening is that you do task 1 and a bit of task 2 and a bit of task 1 and a bit of task 2. Instead of it taking you 40 minutes to do all of that, it will take you an hour, because you're losing 30% productivity, and today's about how to be super productive. So it's not that you can't multitask, you can multitask, but just not really well, and our brains aren't designed to do that anyway. So what happens is that when things are highly automatic, which means that you don't have to think about it at all, you can kind of handle it. But you know what? Most schoolwork that you're going to come across is not automatic stuff. It's stuff that you actually have to put your thought into it. You've got to put your time and energy into it. And that's where the system falls apart. So let's have a look at why the system falls apart. And I think this is going to really help you understand. So this dude here he's in overwhelm at the moment. He's got way too many things coming into his head, and it's just freaking out. It's like literally exploding out of his brain. And it's because our brain is made up of 2 separate systems, 2 broad systems, effectively. We've got what's called the deliberate brain, and we've got what's called the automatic brain. I'm going to start with the automatic brain, or the automatic system first. The automatic system is a part of your brain, is a part of your thinking that just works on autopilot. And you need stuff to work on autopilot, because otherwise you'd be hung up on really basic things. For example, as you've been sitting here in the room, all of you, I'm 100% sure, have been breathing. But I'm going to have a good solid guess that the majority of you have not been thinking about breathing. That's because breathing is one of these automatic systems. But we can move breathing into our deliberate system by getting you to really focus on it. So if I get everyone to follow this, what I want you to do in a moment is take a deep breath in, and then we're going to take a breath out. Here we go. Take a deep breath in. Hold it. And then take a deep breath out. Okay. What I've done there is gotten you to get something that's very automated, and all of a sudden made it very deliberate. And the catch is, our automatic system can handle a lot of things, providing that they don't require a lot of energy resources, a lot of brain power. It's almost like it's reserved for that kind of stuff. So I can walk without too much of a problem, without thinking about it. But if I'm walking on a tightrope, like hung up there, and I'm going to fall and I'll die if I fall, I'm going to be thinking about my walking way more than I would if I'm just generally walking. So what happens is that we kind of treat our deliberate system the way that our automatic system works, but they're very different. The deliberate system has got very limited focus resources. What that means is when I told my daughter, do all of that stuff, her automatic system's going, okay, I kind of get that I've got to do all of that stuff, but the deliberate system is going, I can't handle all of that at once. We just proved that multitasking doesn't work that great. So the deliberate system, they used to think in previous research that it could handle like about seven things plus or minus. So some people could handle like 9 things at once, some people could handle 5 things at once, and anywhere in between. A really small number. More recent research, I've just finished reading a book that suggests that we can kind of handle in our deliberate system about 3 things before our brain gets into overwhelm like this guy over here. Like 3 things. They've also been able to prove that we've literally got millions of pieces of information coming in at any one moment, and out of all those millions of pieces of information, you're only able to grab about 3 in any one go. So when I'm driving down the motorway at 110 kilometers an hour in 6 lanes of traffic, my brain knows that there are cars coming that way, but it's kind of not worrying about them because it's too much to handle. It even knows that I've got 3 lanes going that way, but even that's too much to handle. And it even knows that there are cars all the way down the road, but that's still too much to handle. So it just goes, I'm just going to focus on the first few cars that are in front of me. And if you want me to focus further ahead, I'll focus on them, but now I'm not focusing on this, so bring it back to here. So our deliberate brain is somewhat limited. And what we do as students is that we flood our deliberate brain with all the stuff that you've got to do in one go, and you get home and you go, right, I've got to do all of this stuff, and it just can't handle it. So we're going to have a look at what you need to do to free up the resources in your deliberate brain to help you really focus on this. It's not that your brain's limited, it's got incredible potential. It's more that it kind of works that way, and it's like drinking soup with a spoon, with a fork. It's kind of, it'll do it, but not very well. So, the first step in identifying all of the stuff that you've got is having an understanding of what's actually in your mind. One of the girls left their booklets. They haven't got their name on it, right? Just on the ground. And I was about to throw it out, and I opened it up, and I thought, wow, I'm interested in seeing what she said. And I did this activity with a group yesterday, and this is what she's written down. I asked everyone, and I'll give you the same opportunity in a moment, to write down all of the stuff that you're currently thinking about. And it could be anything. Here's my example of what I'm currently thinking about when I put my focus there. This is real life stuff, I'm not making it up. So I want to update my website with a piece of music that I've written. To do that, I've got to fix up the piece of music. And to fix up the piece of music, I've got to understand how you write some stuff that I'm a little bit stuck on. So in the morning, I had to remember to get some guitar music so that I can look at the way they write it so I can update it. In addition to that, later this afternoon, I have to go and pick up my mum. It turns out one of my uncles is really ill. We have to go and visit him at the hospital. And I'm thinking I've got to get dinner. I'm thinking, how do I get my girls, my daughters, picked up from school and back home so that I can go off to the hospital? This is all the stuff that's going on in my head. And I'm here telling you that we can only handle like 1 or 2 or 3 things at once. So if I don't tell my brain what to do, it gets into overwhelm. This is what this student said. I'm thinking about the amount of bloody work I have due in the next few weeks. True, isn't it? Yeah. So your brain is kind of going, I can hear you, Viera, but I'm too tied up in thinking about all the stuff that I've got due. I had a year 12 student, I'm not making this up, this is true stuff. Had a year 12 student who I said to her, hey, you're looking forward to the retreat? And I know that some of you sitting here feel the same way. Are you looking forward to the retreat? And she goes, no. And I said, how come? Don't you get some time off? She goes, I've got too much bloody work to stop and take some time out. And I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? Because it reflects the thoughts of quite a few of you. But what happens is that our brain's not designed to hold all that stuff. And it can't think clearly and it can't focus on stuff if it's got all of that running in the background. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get it out of your head. We literally say get it out of your head, and you get it out of your head by writing stuff down. I'm going to give you 5 minutes on the timer here, and what I want you to do is write it down, talk to the people next to you, see how much stuff comes out. Home stuff, work stuff, school stuff, whatever. Does everyone know what to do, girls? Yeah? Any questions? All right, 5 minutes, go. Have a chat about it. Thanks and welcome back. Just having a look around, there's one of two things that are happening. People are just going to town writing stuff, which is great, or people are just identifying one or two things, and the moment we say, well, I'll use an example where someone just said, I'm thinking about schoolwork, and your automatic brain knows that when you say schoolwork, it means like your maths, your history, your English, whatever subject you've got, and specifically what the tasks are. But your deliberate brain is just going, schoolwork, I don't know what to do, there's too much. So when you do this, and I suggest you do this like, you know what, I do it every day, where I just dump the stuff out of my head. I suggest you do it regularly, because what it does, if you identify specifically what the schoolwork is, then all of a sudden you start to fill up this list. Because it's not just schoolwork, is like specifically, when you say schoolwork, it's English. Specifically, what about English? Oh, I've got to read the novel. What about the novel do you have to understand? I've got to read, you know, whatever it is. And this is what will happen. When you get the stuff out of your head, you'll typically have one of these responses. Like the first response is often, holy crap, look at all the stuff I've got to get done. Like who fits into that category? Who's looking at it going, wow. Yeah. The other thing that happens is that you get a sense of relief because you finally get to see all the stuff that you're actually thinking about. You get this like, this calmness about you, because at least now you can see in front of you what it is that needs to happen. So the first thing that needs to occur for you to become highly organised and highly productive, or super organised and super productive as we called it, is that you've got to stop relying on your head to remember this stuff, and it's got to get out of your head one way or another. So let's have a look at the system to get this happening. And I can tell you guys, you follow this system, your organisation will increase like dramatically, and your productivity will increase dramatically. The first thing, step one, is that you need to capture all of the stuff that comes in that's of importance to you. When I say capture, that means that you need to write it down, you need to take a photo of it, you need to put it in your diary, you need to somehow grab that information. Because if you don't grab it, it will go away. The reason I didn't get the milk was because when my wife said to me, get the milk, I just looked at it with my loving eyes and said, yes dear, but I didn't capture it. I just trusted my brain would remember, and my brain does not remember. If I captured it and put it in my phone or my to-do list or whatever, I would have checked that and I would have known. You've got to capture it. A few presentations ago, I needed to bring the tripod, and I've got a tripod at home, and I did not want to forget it. So this is how I captured remembering the tripod. When I got home that afternoon, I packed up the tripod and put it leaning against the front door. So that morning, or the following morning, when I woke up and I was going to go to work, I would have to like trip over the tripod to remember that it was there. And as I'm about to go, I'm glad I left that there. So I captured it by doing something physical like that. In order for you to do the best that you can at HSC level, you need to make some decisions about how you're going to capture the information. So when a teacher sets a homework task, when you get an assessment task, when your parents ask you something to do, when you want to do something because it's fun for you, when you've got to remember to back up your computer files, all of that stuff has to be captured. You can capture it in lots of different ways. Let me give you some examples of what I use. So looking around the room, I've taught a bunch of you guys from year 7 or 8 and some a bit further on. And you would have noticed that most of the time I'm walking around with a laptop. It's one of my main capturing devices. Anything that I've got to get done at some level gets into my laptop. And if it's not there, I just won't do it. And I've had students that will come up and say to me, hey, sir, did you mark that essay thing that I got you to check? And I'll look at them and say, what essay? And they said, remember the one that you gave me last week? And I'm going, oh, sorry, it didn't get into my system. What I'm saying is I didn't capture it. So my laptop becomes one of them. In my bag here, I carry a little black notebook. Right, this is not where I put bad students. This is just my notebook, and I literally write down, here's the stuff that I've got to get done. It's another capturing thing. So when I'm walking around and I haven't got my laptop, but I've got this, and someone says, hey, can you do this? I'll write it down. Probably the biggest one though, that has become really important for me, is my phone. I capture it on my phone. If it's something I've got to remember, I'll take a photo of it. I'll put it in the notes thing. I've got a to-do list thing that I use. So I use the technology and the handwriting all the time. Here's another thing that I use. At my work desk in the staff room and at my study desk at home, I've got one of those pigeonhole tray things, and it's my in tray. When I get a letter that I can't, put digitally or anything like that, I'll put it in there, and that's my cue. I've got to capture it. It's captured in here. I have to deal with it. I'll deal with it later on. And what you'll find is that you need to have something that you consistently grab your stuff. If you're in multiple places, you might need multiple things like I do. If you can get away with just using the one thing, like a notebook or your diary or whatever, then do that. So have as many as you need to get all of the information that comes your way, but as few as possible as you actually can get away with. Because if you have too many of them, then you don't know which one to look at. Does that make sense, girls? Yeah? So, I'm going to give you a minute, have a chat, write down how you can capture. When a teacher says you need to do this, how is it going to get out of your head and into a system that you can trust afterwards? You've got a minute, go. Discuss it, have a chat with the people next to you. Girls, can I, let me know, what are you using to capture? Someone call some stuff out so I can hear. School diary. Phone reminders. What? Email. Oh, I forgot to mention email. Yeah, email. What else? Writing on your hand. Girls, writing on your hand works bloody well. The only problem with it is, if you wash your hand, and eventually you just run out of skin to write stuff on. But writing on your hand works really well, yeah. Hold on. Girls, can you just listen up, please? Thanks. Go. Bingo. Yeah. Whiteboard, calendar. Use all of it. Use all of it if it's appropriate to your needs. Some of you might walk out today going, you know what, I need to tell my parents, hey, I need a whiteboard for my room because that's where I'm going to capture my stuff. All right? Cool. Let's move on. So you've got all your stuff. This likely means, like you've done a bit of a brain dump, you've got everything out of your head, you've got a big fat list of stuff to do. And now you need to start making some decisions about how to deal with the stuff that's coming your way. And the decisions, I'm going to break them down so they're very clear and easy for you to follow. The decision to make is whatever you're doing actionable or not actionable? What that means is, if it's actionable, it means that you actually have to do something about it. You have to act. The word act is in the word actionable. You've got to do something about it. If it's not actionable, it means that you don't have to actually do something about it. Let me give you an example. On the weekend, I was clearing my letterbox. The letterbox is a capturing device, by the way. Clearing my letterbox, and there was a note from the roads authority saying that they're going to do some road work at the roundabout near where I live. And as I'm reading it, I learnt from the letter that they're going to be working on it for about 3 weeks, but they're doing it from like 12 at night to about 4 in the morning, and that's it. So I finished reading it, and the first thing I asked myself was, is it actionable? And I thought, no, because I don't drive around normally around the roads at that time, so the likelihood of me having to do anything about this is non-existent. It's actually happening this week and next week, and I thought, Do I need to do anything else about this? And the answer was no. So I just got rid of it. It was not an actionable item. Getting the milk was an actionable item. Asking my daughter to clean her lunchbox is an actionable thing. Getting an assignment is an actionable task. So the question is it actionable or not? And we've got a few of these. Let's just do them together. The first one, you're going to love these girls. You're going to get emails from Mr. Caristo all the time about stuff. All of which is meant to be important. And some of it is highly important. But just because it's important, like them fixing up the roads is actually highly important for safety and all that kind of stuff. But is it actionable by me? And no, it isn't. So, on your sheet there, you've got, is it actionable? The first one, you get an email from Mr. Caristo with the Year 11 report criteria. So you know when you get your reports, and on the back of it, it's got a student at an excellent level can do this, and a student or whatever. So you get that. It's a referencing, right? Is it actionable? Do you need to do anything about it? Apart from like have a read of it or whatever. No, it's not actionable. The second one, this is probably going to happen if it's not happening already. You get an English assessment task. Is it actionable?
Yes.
Yes. You get the school newsletter. You have a read of the newsletter. There's nothing in there that you need to do anything about, like you find out all the stuff that's on. Is it actionable? No. Same newsletter. You read the newsletter. They advertise, I don't know, the chess club, and you really want to play chess, and it says go and see Mrs. Such and Such about chess. Is it now actionable? So the same thing, depending on the person, will be actionable or not actionable. It's important to be aware of that. Lastly, you get homework. Is it actionable?
Yes.
Yeah, some people say no. Yeah, it's actionable. So, let's move on. You've got these two decisions. Is it actionable? Is it not actionable? Let's start with it's not actionable, like the newsletter, assuming there's nothing there, or the report criteria. You then have two decisions that you've got to look at. The first decision is it a reference piece of information? Is it something that I might need to look at in the future? So your report criteria, I would dare say that most Year 11 students don't read their report criteria every night just for a bit of light reading before going to bed. But at some point, you might need to look at it just to refresh yourself about what we're actually assessing you on. So in that case, what you could do is file it in a filing cabinet, or you might copy it to a USB drive, or you might have a folder on your email where you put it in there so that you've got somewhere that's referenced. I was saying to the group yesterday, let's say you've got this English assignment, you might have an English folder where you put all your English stuff so that when you need to find it, you know exactly where it is. So the first thing that you do if it's not actionable is decide whether it's something that you need to keep for further reference. And if you don't need to keep it for further reference, throw it out. We accumulate junk all the time. Like I'll go to my desk and I've got junk just sitting there that I've got to actively go through and go, is this something I need to actually keep or is it just junk? And when it's junk, I just throw it out. I don't need it anymore. My brain can handle like 3 things at most. I don't need a pile of junk to have to think about as well. So file it or get rid of it. Where can you keep your stuff? Think about you at home and you at school. This is a personal thing, right? Where can you keep the information that comes in? And depending on the information, you might need different ways to keep it. So some suggestions, you might have a filing cabinet at home. Some people might keep their stuff on a USB or Google Drive. You might have a notebook like the black one that I've got to write stuff into. A folder, a computer, whatever. I'm going to give you a minute to have a quick chat about where you can keep your reference material. Because if you're throwing it out, you're throwing it out. If you're keeping it, where does it go? You've got a minute. What, did you just say on your phone? Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah, you're right. We carry our phones with us all the time. Thank you, girls. Thanks, ladies. Nicole, can I just share that with everyone? Is that okay? So I asked Nicole just then, hey, what are all the things that you're going to use to keep all your reference material that you don't have to action? And she rattled off a whole stack of them that she's got, and then she said a filing cabinet. I said, good, have you got a filing cabinet? She said, yeah, I've got a filing cabinet. And I said, what would you need to do to use the filing cabinet? She said, oh, look, if we label it and put our stuff in there, we've got the subjects, that'd be great. And then I asked her this question, which is highly important. Are you actually going to do that? And she looked at me with those beautiful eyes and said, no. And I said, why not? And she said, because it's like, what'd you say? Where is it?
Downstairs and it's cold.
It's in a downstairs area and it's cold and uncomfortable. And this is like, it sounds small, but it is absolutely to the point. If you're not going to use it, don't set it up as one of your things. If Nicole has to go down to the bottom of the house in a cold place, cold, dark and gloomy place, scary, yeah, no, let's exaggerate it a bit though. It's a scary place full of spiders to file her history assignment, she's not going to do it. So the question is, what can you use that you are actually going to implement? There's no point just, you can identify it as an option, but then you've got to make the decision to actually go ahead and do it. Really important. So then, thanks, Ilse. So you've dumped it out of your head. You've decided whether it's actionable or non-actionable. It's stuff that's not actionable, so you need to either throw it away or you're going to file it or put it somewhere for further reference. The next thing is, if it is actionable, you need to make one of these two decisions. Is it a single task, or is it what we're going to refer to as a project? A single task means there is literally one thing that you need to do to complete that thing. For example, I got an email from one of the accounts ladies in the office for this professional development thing that I've applied for. To go on this, it's like a teacher excursion. To go on this teacher excursion, I've got to fill in a pink form. I had the pink form, I hadn't given it to her. Thanks, Ilse. She sent me the email to say, hey, can you give me the pink form? So I put it into my list. And the list was, hey, pick up the pink form from your desk and take it to the lady in the office. But I was at home when I got the email, so I couldn't do it straight away. I had to put it in my diary to remind myself to do it, because otherwise I'd forget. But when I got to work, I picked it up, walked it over, gave it to her, and that's it. Finished. It is different to something that we're going to call a project. When you get an English assessment task, is it a single action or is it a combination of a stack of different actions? And you'll find that there's a whole heap of things that you've got to do. So you've got to ask the question, is it a single action to get it complete, or does it require multiple things? If it's a single task, let's take the first one first. If it's a single task, teacher says do this and you can do it. Ask yourself this question, can you do it straight away? Does it actually need to go into a system, and do you need to file it and all that kind of stuff, or can you just get it done and get it out of the way? And usually, if it's going to take you like 2 minutes, or sometimes you can extend it out. If you've got a bit more time, you might extend it out to 10 minutes. In 10 minutes time, I've got this done. Then the best option is just to do it. However, it's not always appropriate. In which case, if you can't do it then and there, or if you haven't got the energy to do it, or for whatever other reason, the next thing to do is that you've got to decide when you will do it. You've got to make like a commitment to yourself and say, okay, this is when I'm going to do it. And that might mean you get your calendar or you get your diary and you say at 4:30 on Tuesday afternoon, when I get home, I'm going to do X, whatever that might be. So you've got to decide whether it's a single task or whether it's a project. What you're going to find is that most of your workload is going to be a combination of a lot of these. What you're going to find though is that with tasks, with assessment tasks, typically they are projects and they're big projects. Let me give you an example. If you get an English assignment, Have you got, what's something that you've actually got? What's a task that you've actually got? Well, I can use music, but what else? Ancient, who said ancient history? Okay. Riley? Kiralee, sorry. Same, similar hair. No, it's completely different hair. Sorry, Kiralee. Okay. Kiralee said that she's got ancient history. All right. Just so everyone can hear, can you just, when I ask you a question, just say it out a bit louder so everyone can hear it. So you got ancient history. Can you explain to me what the task is?
We have to.
Say it louder.
We have to research one of the rooms from Tutankhamun's tomb.
Yeah.
With the group.
Okay. I don't know the task, but you're saying, girl, someone's having a chat. It's really distracting. I'd really appreciate it if I can just talk to get this point across. Thank you. You've got to research one of Tutankhamun's rooms from his tomb, and you've got to do it in a group.
Yeah.
Here are some of the potential steps that you might have to take. Have you actually got the assessment task? Have you read the assessment task? No, haven't read the assessment task. You kind of have. Did you understand everything about the task? Were there any questions that you had to ask the teacher? There's a couple of questions. Have you organised your group? You've organised your group. Has everyone in the group read the assessment task? Has everyone in the group understood the task? Okay. Have you decided which room you're going to analyse? You got assigned that by a teacher. Have you started the research? Once you've done all the research, how do you submit that task?
It's a presentation.
It's a presentation. Who's going to present what things? You've already assigned it? Okay. Thanks for playing along. So here's the point, girls. I stopped counting at 10 because I was going to drop this little gizmo that I've got because I ran out of fingers. But we just very quickly identified at least 10 different things from, have you got the task? Have you understood the task? Have you asked the questions? Have you decided what room? Do you know who's in your group? Do you know who's going to be presenting? So here's what happens. When you go home and say, I'm going to work on my ancient history task, your automatic brain kind of understands that you've got all those steps. But your deliberate brain goes, I've got too much to do, and it freaks out unless you tell it specifically what to do. So if you get home and you say, I'm going to work on my ancient history task today, I'm going to work on it for 20 minutes, it's likely, if you don't tell yourself what to do, that you're just going to sit and look at the task. And I had a year 12 student, girls, young Marie, said this, she articulated it really well. She said, sir, in front of the group, when I get home, I get the task, and I fair income just stare at it for like 20 minutes. And I asked the group, how many people are in the same situation where you get home and you just stare? And you know what, like 3/4 of the hands went up, like when someone's shooting a hand up straight away. And the reason is, your automatic system kind of knows that you've got all of those steps, but you haven't told your deliberate system where to focus. And your head has got too much stuff already to handle. So what you need to do with projects is that you need to write down all of the steps so that you can see your progress. And when you get home and you're going to work on a task and you say, the first thing I need to do is read the task and write down any questions that I need to ask about that task, straight away you've told your brain what to focus on. And there is a massive difference when you do that. So when you have a project, you need to work out what are all of the steps that you need to complete that whole project. And you'll find that most assessment tasks have got a lot of steps in there, a lot of little tiny steps. The second, or the question to ask immediately after that is, what is the very next step that I would need to do to get this task moving? So if you got the task and you haven't read and understood the task, you're not going to be able to do any other stuff until you've read and understood the task. That becomes step number 1. The second question you ask is, can you do it straight away? So let's say you're at home, you've written the questions down, and the next thing for you to do is to ask the teacher about these questions. Can you do it straight away when you're at home? Well, there's a good chance that you can't because you're not at school and you need to see the teacher. So you might look at your diary and go, well, when can I do it? If I can't do it right now, when can I do it? And you might work out that you've got ancient history period 2 tomorrow morning. So you write in your diary, this is when I'm going to ask my teacher those questions. And your brain goes, thank you for telling me what to do. I'm now going to be all cool. Massive difference. So, do we have any questions, girls, about the difference between a single task and a project? Does that make sense? Yeah? Single task, you can knock them over straight away. Project has lots of steps. So then, did I have something in your booklet to do after that? Can I just check? No, good. Oh, did we do single task or project? We did that. Oh, no. Okay, sorry, that's what I was thinking. Open up to where it says single task or project. I'll give you like 30 seconds. See if you can work out which one's which. For you, it might be different for everyone. If you haven't done so already. Okay. An assessment task, single task or a project? Girls, let me know. Project or single task? Which one? Right. Study for a test, single task or project? Could it be a single task? If you're getting tested on one thing, potentially. Complete maths, question 3 from page 21. Single task. Hand in my practice essay. Right, so you're getting the gist of this, right? Excellent. So, for this system to work, and I can guarantee you girls, it works 100% of the time, but you need to do the whole system. And the next part of the system, so you've gotten all the stuff out of your head. You've captured it somehow. You've decided whether it's actionable or whether it's not actionable. If it's not actionable, you've decided whether you're going to throw it out or whether you're going to keep it somewhere. If it is actionable, you've now decided whether it's a single task or whether it's a project. Thanks, girls. If it's a single task, you've decided, can I do it now or do I have to do it later? And if you can do it later, you've written down in your diary or wherever on your calendar, you've made a decision about where it's going to go. If it's a project, you sat down and worked out all of the steps that you know of up at that point in time that you need to do to complete that particular project. And then you've looked at all the steps and said, what is the very next thing that I need to do with all of these steps to make this start moving? And you get that one step and you say, all right, can I do it now or do I have to do it later? And you make that decision. And then this is what needs to happen for this to work really well. Each week, go through all of your single tasks that you've got to keep them in your mind so that you know what's coming up. This is the equivalent of you looking further down the road so that you don't get the crash, so that you avoid the crash. Review all of your projects. Sometimes what happens is that you get a task, you write down everything that you know of at that point that you need to get done, you go and ask the teacher, you find out some more stuff that you didn't know that you need to get done, add that in. Sometimes you write down a whole stack of things and you don't even realise that you've done a whole stack of them already. So review your projects. Next thing, check your calendar. So look at the week ahead and go, what is coming up that I need to attend? What's coming up the following week? That is really the equivalent of looking further down the road. And once you've looked ahead, it then puts you in a position to be really clear about what's actually due. This reduces your stress and anxiety dramatically because you still have to get the stuff done, but the biggest difference is that you know what's coming up ahead and you can deal with it, and you know the very next step that you need to do to keep going in it, to keep moving forward, which means that you don't get overwhelmed, which means that you can put your time and effort and energy into what actually needs to be done. Make sense, girls? If you, of all of these steps, I would think step 1, capturing it, is probably the most critical, because if you don't capture it, it just does not exist in your world, and you will only find out when it's actually due. And we get this happening. Students come into class everyone's handing in their stuff, and the student says, "What are you doing?" "I'm handing in my assignment." And they say, "What assignment?" "You know, the one that we've been doing it." "Isn't that due next week?" No, it's actually due today." And they're like, "Ah." So you've got to make those decisions to be able to look ahead. It means that you can be more relaxed. Massive difference. So, here's what happens though. Everything that you do, and I've probably spoken to you about this before, girls. Everything that you do uses up energy. And I was just giving someone over here this example. Like, you've got your mobile phone, you use your mobile phone, the battery starts to go down on it. So if you want to keep using your phone, at some point you've got to charge it back up, because otherwise you've just got like a bricked phone that does nothing. So I often have students in a panic saying, "Hey Viera, I've got a massive issue." "What's the issue?" "My phone is down like to 3%. I need a charging cable. Can I borrow one?" And that's the dramatics of their world that they're in at that point in time. It's like, "Yeah, here, charge it in." They charge it so they can keep using it. Your body works the same way. A lot of the stuff that you're going to do at school is going to require a lot of energy from you, a lot of really focused energy. The problem is, if you don't have the energy to give, you're not going to be able to put your time and effort into it. So what you effectively have to do with yourself is that you've got to treat yourself like a mobile phone, and you've got to do things consistently to charge up again so that you've got energy to give. Because I can tell you, doing an assessment task is not something that you can do when you're completely tired and knocked out. You just can't do a good job of it. You need extra energy. So to help that, you kind of effectively have to plug yourself into the wall to charge up. Don't go and do this because you'll electrocute yourself, but you kind of figuratively have to do that. The reason I've got a picture of someone having a coffee is that I recharge by having a coffee. I love it. Monday afternoon, Miss Singleton and I finished work, and we'd just both been talking about how busy our afternoons are going to be. You think you're busy now, you wait till you've got kids, and then you're busy, because you've got so much extra stuff to do. And we were thinking about all of the stuff that we had to still attend to, and it was like the end of the school day, but for us it was like the start of our home and family life and all the stuff we had to do. And we kind of said, why don't we go and have a coffee? And we just sat down for like half an hour at the cafe there, had a coffee, had this nice little Italian pastry. Oh God, they make some nice stuff with the ricotta cheese. Beautiful. And what was happening really was that her and I were recharging a little bit. We finished, we got in the car, and we both felt great getting home because we had charged up our energy. Students, as a generalization, this isn't for everyone, but I reckon it's for a lot of you. Work and work and work and work, and you get tired, and then you say, I'm too tired to rest, so I'm going to keep working, and you keep doing that, and eventually you have the crash and burn. And the crash and burn comes in lots of ways. I've been teaching for a while now. I can tell you lots of different crashes and burns. Crashes and burns come in this format, where you will start to cry in the fetal position on the floor because you just can't take it anymore. We have that crash and burn. Who crumbles that way? But yeah, okay, good. Another crash and burn. I won't mention the girl's name. She was fantastic, very honest when she said this to the whole group last week in Year 12. She said, the way I crash and burn, I take it out on my friends. I just snap at them. And she effectively said, in a roundabout way, I get bitchy towards all of my friends. And I said to her, why do you do that? She goes, because I know they're my friends, and I know that even if I turn into a real bitch, they're still going to be there for me. But it creates all sorts of fights. Who's a fighter? Who likes to lash out by fighting? Yeah, hands going up. Yeah. Trust me, girls, we've seen the crashing and burn. I had, many years ago now, before you guys started at Cert-On, I remember seeing one student, her name was Stephanie. This student was like, if you could build a student, she had all of those characteristics in there. Fantastic student, worked really well. she was like, I had her for music from like year 8 onwards, and she was one of these ones that just got A's for bloody everything. You know, that type of student, right? They just get it. And I remember one time, she comes into class, and she just looked different. There was something about her that was different, and I couldn't quite work out. So at the end of the lesson, I just put, I said, hey, can I have a quick chat, Steph? She goes, yeah. I said, what's the matter? She goes, no, nothing. I've got all my stuff. And I said, you know what? I've known you for a little while now. You look different. What's really the matter? And she just paused, started crying, and said, I'm just not handling it. I said, what do you mean you're not handling it? She goes, I've got too much bloody stuff to do and I can't do it, and I'm just starting to really stress. And I remember at that point, because I thought, this is like Steph, who's like one of those students, and if she's feeling the pressure and starting to crack, you know what? I think it's fair enough for anyone else to show the same cracks as well, because we're human. We crack. As teachers, we blow up. How many of you guys have had a teacher that has come into class and you just know that they've had a crap morning or whatever and they're taking it out on you? I've done it. Not Mrs. Chanella, she never does that. She's different. So, girls, the crash and burn may or may not come, but I'll tell you what really helps to completely avoid it in the first place is doing that stuff. You have to do stuff to relax and unwind consistently. There is a difference between getting home and going, I'm just going to sit on Facebook all night, and getting home and saying, I feel tired, I'm worn out, I've got my work to do, so I'm going to sit down for like an hour or 20 minutes or whatever on Facebook and just indulge in that world. And then when that's finished, I'm going to start doing my stuff. Can I give you a few moments, girls, to discuss and write down for you what is it that you need to do to recharge? What is it that if you did consistently, you got that energy? Go for it, girls. I'll give you a couple of minutes, less than 5 minutes. Thank you, ladies. We're almost out of time, and I really want to make sure that we get recess, right? Because I want to eat as well. I had a question came up, and this came up yesterday as well. And the question from the group yesterday was, sometimes I want to relax, and my parents see me, and they say, you're wasting your bloody time. Why aren't you working? And the response I gave was this. I truly believe that your parents and your teachers want to do the best that they know how to do to get the best out of you. But that varies. And what tends to happen is that your parents don't see the amount of work and focus and effort that you have to put in at school. They kind of see you at home. And most parents, not all parents, but most parents, I do this with my daughters as well, girls. We kind of forget that we're human and we expect them to be robots, and we're not robots. So what happens is that when they get home and they see you just hanging around wasting time, they don't know that maybe you're recharging. Now, given sometimes, hey, you're just wasting time. But if you're just recharging, the thing that really helps is to have that conversation with them and say to your parents, hey, I have to give a lot at school, and then at home I'm having to give a lot for homework and stuff like that, and what I'm finding is that I'm getting flat, I'm running out of energy. So what I need to do for myself is I've got to recharge a little bit, and the way that I recharge is insert whatever you do. I get energy by sitting there and wasting 40 minutes on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. Or I just need to, you know what, Mum, Dad, tonight I just can't do any of it. I'm just going to watch movies for the afternoon. But you tell them very deliberately, and you explain that the reason that you're doing that is because you need to recharge and you haven't got much to give at that point in time. And I've found when I talk to parents that when you explain it like that, they go, oh, I didn't know that. They're completely surprised that you guys actually need to recharge. But interesting enough, they do it as well. They get home and they're tired and they just kind of chill out as well. Girls, I need to wrap it up. In your booklet, you've got a little flow chart that kind of summarizes everything that I've shown you. It starts with capturing something. You have to make a decision. I'll just wait for that. You have to make a decision. Is it actionable or is it not actionable? If it's not actionable, either get rid of it or file it. Do something with it.
Sir, please come to the front. Sir,
if it is actionable, you need to decide. Thanks, girls. If it is actionable, you need to decide, is it something I can do straight away? Is it a single task? Or is it a project that requires multiple steps? The next question is, can I do that step now or do I have to do it later? Once you've got all of that, you need to weekly keep on top of it. And to make this work, girls, here's the last three steps that I'll leave you with. The first one is, it's critical that you look at this. I put weekly. It might be every couple of days. It might be every 2 weeks, whatever works for you. But consistently look ahead at what's coming up. The second thing is, you've got to Nike it. Nike's logo is just do it. And fundamentally, girls, at the end of all of this, you've got this fantastic system that when you follow it, it's going to give you fantastic results. But ultimately, you have to suck it up and just do it. It comes down to that. No one else can do this stuff for you. You'll hear this from teachers, hey, it's your HSC, you do what you want. What they're really saying is from now on, girls, you're not little toddler girls, you're not young girls, you are young ladies. Some of you are young women. You're at that point in your life now where it's up to you to take that responsibility. And some days, you just have to suck it up and get it done. You got to Nike it, you just got to do it. Lastly, and this is super important, girls, I've mentioned this a couple of times, you're not robots, you're human, you have to be flexible. Just because you've got a system, just because it says in your diary that you've got to do something, some days you get home and you feel like crap. Some days you just do not want to do it. I have those days quite often. I'll say to my wife, hey, today I don't want to be a husband, I don't want to be a parent, I want to be a blob. I want chocolate and I want the bloody chips and I want to put sport and I want to see like grown men punch each other, watching boxing or something like that, and I just need to be a blob for the day and don't expect anything from me. But you know what? The following day, I lift my game because I've recharged. So be flexible. Don't expect yourself to work at 100% all the time. You are going to have days where it's just too much. So allow yourself to be okay with that. And girls, I'm really excited about you guys moving forward in year 11 and 12. I wish you the best of luck. And please, if you've got any questions, come and ask any of the teachers. We're all happy to help you. And girls, you've been fantastic. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Give yourself a round of applause.